Welcome back to The Manager, presented by Outlier Sports. I am your host, Gianni Frangella. It was a very good, pretty good week 4 in the NFL. I was traveling on Sunday, so I didn't actually get to watch a whole lot of the games as they were happening. I did go back, watch highlights, but just want to preface that because a lot of people like to give their opinions on things without watching or knowing anything about what happened. I am going to tell you exactly what I know what happened. I watched the highlights. That way you can make your opinion about my opinion and nobody's trying to come off as some genius. That being said, I'm just going to dive right into these scores. But actually, real quick before I do, NBA season's coming up. Media Day was yesterday. I'm so pumped for the NBA to come back. We're going to be in the sports equinox as well. A lot of good stuff going on. MLB playoffs. But I want to talk about basketball and football. Those are my two main sports. But what I'm probably going to do is do them in separate episodes when they're both going on. So I'll do an episode about the NFL, episode about the NBA, and more or less it's going to be 2 episodes a week, but they'll just be one each for each sport. With that being said, Thursday night we had the Seahawks and the Cardinals. This was kind of a boring game up until the end, where the Cardinals made it a little bit interesting, tied the game up, and then it was they screwed up on the kickoff with these dumb rules, and Seahawks won the game. Vikings Steelers. This game was in Dublin. Dublin. This game was really also not that entertaining. The Vikings kind of made it interesting at the end by getting it to one possession, but the game was pretty much already over as it's shown in the final score. Commanders Falcons. I picked the Commanders for this game because I thought Jaden Daniels was going to play. Like I made the pick last week, and he didn't play, and they still only lost by a touchdown. If you're the Falcons, you win by one score against a team without their starting quarterback, and then the week before you get trounced 30-0 by one of the worst teams in the league. I am not riding the biggest high right now if I'm a Falcons fan just because you won this game. I would be very cautious about your optimism for the Falcons. Shocker of the week. The Chargers lose to the Giants in New York. And the Giants lose Malik Neighbors, torn ACL. So devastating. Thoughts and prayers. But man, just I could not believe the Chargers lost this game. If you've been listening to my podcast, I've been raving about the Chargers to my own, disliking because I don't like the Chargers. I'm a Broncos fan, but I'm still very high on their team and Justin Herbert. But man, I could not believe they lost this game. Shout out to the Giants, Jackson Dart. The Dart era is underway. They got Dart, they got Scadwood, they got some new blood in there. They got some vibes going. I don't think they're going to be a formidable threat this season at all, but their future is bright for sure. Texans 26-0 over the Titans. Man, the Titans are bad, and it's kind of pains me to think that they kind of had a chance to tie against the Broncos at the end of that game there. Eagles Buccaneers. I did pick the Bucs to win this game in a close one. Kind of almost came to fruition, just too little, too late. But man, entertaining game. Well, entertaining sequence of events, I should say. Not so much entertaining to watch. Panthers, Patriots. Patriots just absolutely trounced them 42-13. I'm using trounce a lot. I got to pick up a different word. Bills, 31-19 over the Saints. No surprise there. Lions, 34-10 over the Browns. No surprise there. Jaguars, 26-21 over the Niners. Surprise there. I was very shocked by this. And I know Mac Jones is playing and they don't have Kittle, but this is an uncharacteristic win for the Jaguars because you look at who they were last year, what the essence and identity of the Jacksonville Jaguars is. This is a huge win for them. The Jaguars might be good. Who knows? Rams, Colts. I'm pretty sure I picked the Rams to win this game, and it was a very entertaining game. Both teams are very good, very impressive. But man, the Colts honestly should have had this. They lose out on 2 touchdowns because of Mitchell. Just how are we in 2025 and people are still doing the Deshaun Jackson? Like that's crazy. Professional football players in 2025. That's nuts to me. It blows my mind. You got to just go into the end zone, literally a couple more feet, and then do whatever the hell you want to do, bro. Like, doesn't matter if you get a flag on the kickoff or whatever. Like, get in the end zone, score the touchdown. Oh, I can't believe that. Um, Bears Raiders. The Bears sneak this one out over the Raiders, 25-24. Ashton Genty finally breaks out. I'll get to that in a little bit, but I think the Bears are all right. But also, they were 4-2 just first 6 weeks last year, so let's maybe pump the brakes on that. Chiefs, I mean, dominate the Ravens, 37-20. Lamar gets hurt, just a nightmare. If you're a Ravens fan through 4 weeks, and their defense. I'll get into the Ravens in a second. Actually, Packers, Cowboys, 40-40 tie. This game was the game of the week, in my opinion. This game was amazing to watch. Action the whole way through. Very anticlimactic ending. I don't think ties should be a thing in the NFL. I think if you get through it overtime and they still haven't, the game still hasn't been decided and they're still tied, go to college rules. Go possessions back and forth on like the 50-yard line or whatever you got to do until someone actually wins the game, because ties are ridiculous. Ties are ridiculous. Dolphins 27-21 over the Jets, although they did lose Tyreek Hill for the season. Gruesome injury to his knee or his leg, whichever the one. I think they said he tore his ACL and dislocated his knee, if I'm not mistaken. Broncos 28-3 over the Bengals. This is what we needed. We needed a win like this bad, and we needed to take care of business in this fashion. I said last week, if we have any shame over losing 2 games in a row at the last second, and you're playing a team like the Bengals without their starting quarterback, if we have any shame, you will demolish this team, and that's what we did. 500 total yards of offense, over 500 total yards of offense. Just very impressive win for us. Bo Nix threw a really dumb interception at the goal line. Besides that, flawless. J.K. Dobbins, 100 yards. Awesome win. Week 5. We're going to look at some Week 5 matchups before we get into the rest of it. 49ers, Rams, Thursday night. One thing I always think about this is every time they play at SoFi, the 49ers fans just completely take over SoFi. I don't know if that's speaks volumes to Rams fans or just the fact that Los Angeles is maybe not a football city. I don't know. Otherwise, with all that being said, I got the Rams winning this game. Vikings, Browns in London. I'm going to go with the Vikings, and I think they'd probably win this game anyway, but also they've already been in Dublin. They're already in Europe, so I think this is less of an adjustment for them than it will be for the Browns. Give me the Vikings. Cowboys at the Jets. Give me the Cowboys. Giants at the Saints. God, what a terrible game. Give me the Giants. I'm rolling with Dart and Scattaboo. They got some good stuff going. Give me them. Raiders, Colts. Give me the Colts in Indianapolis. Dolphins at Panthers. Oh, my God. Just another horrible game. Give me the Dolphins. Broncos at the Eagles. Call me crazy. Call me biased. I'm picking the Broncos. And it's because I don't think the Eagles are that scary. And everything I'm saying right now is totally going to be clip worthy in a week to throw back in my face. But I'm saying this now because I genuinely think it could happen. And maybe I should refrain from saying we're going to win. But I'm not like terrified or we're going to get blown out. I think we could win. More than likely, we'll probably lose in a close game. So you know what? I'll pick the Eagles. I'm taking my pick back. I'll pick the Eagles. But I don't think the Eagles are this Thanos like threat or like you have to fear them. They're such a good team. There's no way we beat them in Philly. I think we can do it. We can't make critical mistakes. Bo Nix can't be throwing dumb interceptions. We have to be on our stuff. I think we could totally win this game. But after giving it some thought, yeah, I'm going to pick the Eagles to win. Texans, Ravens. In Baltimore, honestly, if Lamar doesn't play, which it seems like he's not going to, I'm going to go with the Texans. Titans at the Cardinals. Give me the Cardinals. Buccaneers at the Seahawks. This is actually a really tough one. Give me the Bucks. Give me the Bucks. I'm riding with Baker, my fantasy quarterback. Lions at the Bengals. Lions. Commanders at the Chargers. Even if Jaden Daniels plays, I'm going to go with the Chargers in this one. I think they had an embarrassing loss last week. They're going to come back and win at home. Patriots at the Bills. Bills, Sunday night. That's a terrible Sunday night game. Chiefs at the Jaguars. Honestly, all right, I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I think this game is going to be closer, more, entertaining than people think. The Jaguars, not that bad. So without further ado, I'm going to get into my rundown here. Super Bowl matchup. I'm sticking with the Bills and the Packers. And it's mostly because when I look at the rest of the NFC, there's not someone else that I'm like, oh, clearly them and not the Packers. Even the Eagles. And I'll get to why in a second. But I think the NFC is such a toss-up because it's so weak compared to the AFC, in my opinion. I'm sticking with the Bills and the Packers, even though the Packers defense looked horrible against the Cowboys. Like, really discouraging if you're a Packers fan or Packers supporter. But nonetheless, sticking with them. Because I also, I'm not trying to flip-flop every single week. Dark horses. Chargers, I've kept them on this for the last 2 weeks. I'm keeping them on here now. And I'm putting the Rams on here. The Rams are good. 3-1, your only loss is to the Eagles. I got the Rams as a dark horse. Overachievers. I put the Eagles on here last week, and I am not taking them off. They have the fourth worst yard differential in the league. Fourth worst. And in the second half against the Bucs, they had zero completions. Look, it's. I said this last week. They are just like the Chiefs last year. They're the reigning champs. They're winning every game. In theory, they should be this godlike threat and seen as that. When you look at how they're winning these games, there are signs that this is like these things that they're scraping by, these things that they're doing, in spite of winning, or they're winning in spite of these things, they're going to catch up to them. It could be this week against the Broncos. Could be next week. It could be way down the season. It could be in the playoffs. It could be in the Super Bowl. I truly believe it's the same as last year with the Chiefs. There are signs that this team is not have everything locked down tight. They are not this S-tier threat. I think they're an overachiever. And I'm going to keep them up there until, they have a really confident win that proves me otherwise. And me being a Broncos fan and saying that is a really unfortunate setup for me, but we'll see. Underachievers. I had the Broncos on here last week, taking us off. I mean, you win 28-3 against a bad team. We'll call them a bad team with Jake Browning. Just completely dominated them. 500 total yards of offense. You did what you had to do. I'm taking them off. I am putting on here the Ravens, and this is worth noting because their defense, I think, statistically, at least points per game, has to be worse in the league. You give up 40 or 41 to the Bills. You give up 38 to the Lions. You give up 37 to the Chiefs. It's worth noting they have 6 defensive starters out. That is crushing. You cannot downplay that. Although I do think that even if they were playing, it wouldn't be a night and day difference. I still think they're just a bad defense. And now Lamar's hurt. This could be a nightmare for the Ravens because I read that he could miss 2 to 3 weeks. There's 2 ways to look at this. There's a lot of different scenarios, but I think there's 2 different ways to look at this. He misses 1 week because I think it's almost all but guaranteed he's probably not going to play this week. Looking at realistic scenarios, he misses 1 week. They're playing the Texans in Baltimore. They win that game. That's reasonable. You're 2-3, and then Lamar comes back, and you try and ride with some momentum and fix your season. That's like your best case scenario. Your worst case scenario, he misses 2 to 3 weeks, say 3 weeks. You go 0-3 in that time without him. You're 1-6. and then Lamar comes back. You need Lamar to save you from 1-6 just to make the playoffs. It's a nightmare. It could be a nightmare. Could be, fine. They could scrape by and be totally fine without him. But this is shaping up to be a nightmare of a season for the Ravens. After the first 3 quarters of week 1, I was like, damn, they're going to the Super Bowl. I had them in my Super Bowl pick up until last week. It is unbelievable to look at it a month later and be like, damn, they are maybe not going to make the playoffs. It's nuts. So that's my over and underachievers. MVP ladder. This has seen some crazy fluctuation. I believe last week my ladder was Herbert 1, Lamar 2, Daniel Jones 3rd, Josh Allen 4th. There are 2 new guys on this, which means I had 2 people that fell off, Daniel Jones and Lamar, because they're 1-3, and now he's going to miss time. The odds of him winning MVP it's over. That campaign is shot, in my opinion, barring a miracle. So I'm going to go from 4th to 1st. 4th, a newcomer on here, I have Puka Nacua. 503 yards, receiving yards, which is first in the league by 101 over Jackson Smith and Jigba. 42 receptions, first by 8. He is on pace for over 2,000 yards, over 160 catches. Are you kidding me? That is unreal. He would be a landslide triple crown if he didn't only have 1 touchdown. He has 170 yards after contact, or I'm sorry, 170 yards after the catch, which is 6th in the league. This is really impressive. And I got to give him some love. I got him at 4th on the MVP ladder. 3rd, and this guy could easily be higher than this, Josh Allen, 964 yards, passing yards, which is 8th, 7 touchdowns, which is tied for 8th, 1 interception, 159 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns, which is tied for 6th, and a fumble, and 4-0 record. I absolutely could see, if you had him 2nd or even 1st in your MVP rankings, I would not think that's crazy or even wrong. I just have him here because I simply think his performances have not been as impressive as the 2 people I have ahead of him, which is Justin Herbert at 2nd, who was 1st last week. 1,063 passing yards, which is 4th, 7 touchdowns, which is tied for 8th, 3 interceptions, 3-1 record, and the 1 loss being a really, a bad loss against the Giants. He's 2nd, so I obviously think he has a great shot to do it. But I was going to keep him 1st until I kind of realized, and if you're doing the math, you'll realize the person who I have in 1st was not on this list at all last week. And I don't know if it's just because I overlooked him entirely, but all things considered, through 4 weeks, my number 1 on the MVP ladder is Matthew Stafford. 1,114 yards, passing yards, 2nd in the league. 8 touchdowns, tied for 3rd. Only 2 interceptions, 3-1 record, and the only loss is against the Eagles. That's a phenomenal resume. I don't see why he shouldn't be 1st or even top 3, top 2, top 3 in this conversation. And you compare him to Herbert. More passing yards, more touchdowns, less interceptions, same record, but the Rams' 1 loss was against the Eagles. And it was miraculously at the end of the game. Like, they could be 4-0 right now if they make 1 block. And then Herbert, their 1 loss is against the Giants after they lost their star receiver. So I think Stafford is 1st. And the Rams, like I said, I'm big on the Rams. They're impressive. Last week, I did surprise stars of the week. And I'm going to do stars of the week. Not surprise, just stars of the week. 1st, Puka Nacua, 13 catches, 170 yards, 1 touchdown. Very impressive game. Ashton Genty, this was the breakout that people have been waiting for. 21 carries, 138 yards, a touchdown, 2 catches for 17 yards and 2 touchdowns. This is what people were expecting out of him, what they thought he was going to do when they drafted him first round in fantasy, early second round in fantasy. This is what we've been waiting for with him, and he showed up and delivered. Unfortunately, they lost, but huge props to Ashton Genty. George Pickens, 8 catches, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns, and absolutely saved my ass in fantasy this week. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but my brief rundown was that I won by 14 points. And the person I was playing had the Packers defense as well, which ended up with -5. But going into their final drive of regulation, there's 1:45 left on the clock. Pickens had 19 points. The Packers defense had -1. He gets that touchdown, which is 9.8 points. And then the Packers defense loses 3 points. That right there is a 12.8 point swing. That was huge for me. And then the Packers defense finished with -5. He finished with 33. So if he doesn't get that last touchdown, send the game into overtime, get some extra catches, but also cause the Packers defense to lose even more points, I lose. George Pickens, thank you, bro. Had to throw you in. Had to show some love. Now, the surprise stars of the week segment is basically this one. It has been renamed. Going forward, it'll now be called Who Did What? Kenneth Gainwell, 19 carries, 99 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6 catches, and 35 yards. Now, this was really because Jaylen Warren was out, so he kind of got the lion's share of the carries. However, Jaylen Warren didn't have a game like this. I mean, this is impressive. Huge game, 31 points in fantasy. Romeo Doubs, 6 catches, 58 yards, 3 touchdowns. Wow. Okay. All right. Jaquavius Woody Marks, 69 yards on 17 carries, a rushing touchdown, 4 receptions, 50 receiving yards, and a touchdown. This one maybe should be I guess, I don't really rank these, but this guy should be first if I were to, because I hate to admit it, I did not know who he was until he had this game. I had to look him up. I looked up Woody Marks, and then it came up Jaquavius Marks, and I was like, who the hell is this? Jaquavius, Woody, whatever you go by, props to you, bro. Huge game out of nowhere. Disappointments. Lad McConkey, 1 catch for 6 targets on 11 yards. Yeesh. Chase Brown's not on this list this week, by the way, so huge for me. Jameson Williams, 2 catches, 8 targets, 40 yards. Yikes. A.J. Brown, 2 catches, 9 targets, 7 yards. And a cryptic tweet after the game, kind of taking aim at the Eagles. Yikes, man. Those are some real duds of performances right there. Predictions and takes. So I'm sticking with the Chargers win the AFC West and make the AFC Championship. I still think that's very I mean, the AFC West thing, I still think that is a likely scenario. AFC Championship is, we don't know what's going to happen. I'm sticking with that take. Buccaneers win several more games in the clutch. They almost did it again this week, man. I'm sticking with that take. In fact, earlier I said they're going to beat the Seahawks. I think they do it in clutch fashion. Last second field goal, end of the game touchdown, something like that. Something like that. And my new take that I'm putting up here, and if you'll remember, I dropped my take last week that the Bengals could stay afloat without Joe Burrow. It's not going to happen. Jake Browning fooled me big time with that Jaguars game. Speaking of Jaguars, though, my take, and this is maybe the hottest take I've had yet, even hotter than the Bengals one. The Jaguars and the Colts both make the playoffs. Now, here's my reasoning. If Lamar gets hurt and the Ravens lose some games in his absence, they're severely disadvantaged in the playoff race. The Jaguars are 3-1. The Colts are 3-1. They play in a weak division aside from each other. I think they both make the playoffs. I think it's going to be Bills, Chargers, uh, Steelers, and then one of these teams, Colts or Jaguars, say the Colts. You have those four. And you're going to have the Chiefs. I'm going to throw my Broncos in there. And then I think the Jaguars fit in that last spot. That's my take. I'm not going to write all of that down as those 7 teams being in the playoffs take. But Jags and Colts both make the playoffs. That's my hot take for this week. That's about all I got for today. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to the manager. Today is a Tuesday, September 30th. I'm going to be pretty busy tomorrow. So that's why I'm going to try and upload this tonight, actually. But I hope you're enjoying it. If you have any critiques, any feedback, any comments, any things you want to see on the show, let me know. I am always open to suggestions. This has been The Manager, presented by Outlier Sports. I'm your host, Gianni Frangella. Have a great rest of your day.